So have you ever been in a situation where you've had to, I don't know, maybe read something aloud to someone else, something really weird that you don't agree with, or, been in a situation where you have to describe something that happened about someone else, something, maybe somebody has an opinion that you don't like or whatever. And you're trying to relay the information, but you find yourself just like overcome with this urge to like make it clear your own dislike for the thing you're talking about. I've been in that situation before, and it's affected me in the past. So I'm saying when I make this rant, because this is going to be a rant, I understand where people are coming from when they do this. That this is kind of a natural thing. It makes sense that people do it. I just don't like it. And I've stopped doing this. And I don't do this anymore. And it's just something I don't like. Spoon-feeding morality. Spoon-feeding normality. This need to constantly caveat your speech when talking about something as like, just to be clear, I don't agree with this. Like, okay, I don't really care. I don't really care about you and your, like, what your perspective is, unless you have something interesting to add. But just saying, just to be clear, I don't agree with this, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, I didn't assume that you did. Just because you're relaying this information, I didn't assume that you did. And it's kind of obnoxious, just kind of inserting your own, just pointless editorializing, because the editorializing doesn't actually add any insight or any commentary, really. It's just like, I think this is weird. Okay, well, anyone could have that opinion. It's not very interesting. Let me try to think of a better way of talking about it, because there's a lot of just subtle ways this sort of thing enters the fray. I'll give you an example. Like, I'm watching this Turkey Tom video. This is what inspired me to make this. I don't really like Turkey Tom all that much, but I do sometimes watch his stuff because he covers a lot of subjects that I'm interested in. And one of the things I don't like about him is that, like, I'm currently watching this video that he put out today about the guy who made the Zooier Than Thou podcast, which is something I've had this kind of passing interest. Boring podcast, by the way. You'd think a podcast made by and for people who fuck animals would be interesting. It's not. But anyway, he's making this video about this guy. And he just can't restrain himself from peppering in constantly, like every minute or so, a word like sick or twisted or wrong or perverted. And it's like, I get it. Like, you don't need to tell us this. Anyone who's watching this can come up with their own opinion about it. You don't need to constantly pepper this video with just a litany of insults toward this guy. Like, I really don't care what you think about him. I'm watching this video because I want to learn about this guy's story and learn about the drama. You can talk about what other people have said about him, because that's part of the drama, that's part of the story. And if you have an actual observation to make, if you have like something that adds something to the conversation, I'm not even against saying like those opinions. They should just like have their place, say them if you mean to say them, and if there's a good reason to say them. But everyone already is pretty much on your side. Like, there's no point in just peppering your video with a litany of me just confirming the biases of the people that people already have who are watching the video. Like, the vast majority of people don't like people who fuck animals, don't think that's okay behavior, whatever. Vast majority of people are already on your side about that. Like, you don't need to performatively act like you have to remind people that you think that. Like, it's annoying. It's just it's grating. And it's like, my thing is that I like looking at people and having a certain level of neutrality. It doesn't have to be like you don't have an opinion about them, but it has to be, to me, I think a good work of, we could call it documentary or commentary, criticism, or whatever, is for the most part trying to describe. And then if there's a reason, a good reason for it, you can then add commentary and opinion to it, perspective to it. But if there's no good reason and all you're doing is just performatively talking about how moral you are in opposition to this guy, then it just seems like you're just like what's the point of this? So this is totally pointless. It's vapid. It's not intelligent, and it seems uncurious to me. Like when you always have to act like these people are just bad, and like we can't even view anything that they do just objectively. Everything has to be in the context of it being bad. Then it feels more like you're like creating a religion out of hating someone, instead of just looking at them as a person and being like, okay, this and this is problematic, but let's just look in and see what we can find about this, see what we can learn about this, see how this can affect our or inform our perspective on life and about these issues and about what this guy's about and human nature. Like that to me is interesting, but this constant like need to virtue signal is not interesting, and that's really what it is. It's just a big virtue signal. It's like, oh yeah, I'm better than this guy. Well, nobody thought you weren't, so shut up about it, please. I don't know, it's just the constant need to spoon feed morals and normality to an audience who already agrees with you, and it intersects with this idea I've been thinking about a lot lately, which is just these people who have nothing original to say, are totally like boring, and have no unique perspective. Like for instance, Moist Critical on YouTube, Penguin Z0. That guy never had a unique thought in his mind for his whole fucking YouTube career, and yet he's famous for being some fucking edgelord. Like what? Every single opinion he has ever put out on YouTube has been the popular opinion. Everyone already agrees with him, and yet he's famous for being edgy. Doesn't make any sense. The real edgelords are people like Mr. Girl, who come out with a perspective that everyone's against. Everyone's like, what is this guy talking about? But then he'll like, give his real honest opinion about why he believes it. And it's like, it's raw, it's human, it's different, it's weird, and you might not like it. You might like it, you might not like it, but it's him, and he's being himself. These people who act like they're so cool, when really what they're doing is just parroting what everyone else is already saying. That's not cool. That's lame. It's kind of the new evolution out of like, was basically the same old, the conspiracy of normals, as in the Church of the Subgenius. The normal people always trying to kind of make everyone the same and stamp out everyone who's different as weird or degenerate. And they act like, because their opinion is popular, that somehow makes it like objectively true. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't need to do any work in justifying their opinion because everyone already believes it. And so why don't you just get on our level and agree with what we already agree with, because we already agreed a long time ago, so it must be true, right? Creativity, originality, uniqueness is not valued. Critical thinking isn't even valued, really. I mean, they act like they're in favor of critical thinking, but they're never really critical of their beliefs. And whenever someone comes around who is critical of their beliefs, they don't even really engage with it right. They just sort of act like, well, there must be something wrong with you for questioning this thing that we all know to be true. And it's like, well, no, that person might be wrong, but it doesn't mean that you're right. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that they're wrong. Their mistake was questioning you in the first place. The mistake is actually not questioning. There are so many people who are wrong, and they get called wrong, but the people who are calling them wrong don't know why they're wrong. And it's frustrating. And they call you weird, as if they think that's some big insult. As if, what, do I want to be normal? It's actually more insulting that you would think I would be insulted by being called weird. But yeah, it's just this group thing, this social group thing, and it's all assumed. And there's this fake edge in this culture these days. People who think that they're so edgy and that other people are so edgy just because they're bullish and boorish. But there's no originality to it. There's nothing actually cutting edge about it. It's just repackaging and marketing the same old normative culture, but just as like, oh yeah, we're uncompromising. Well, who gives a shit? I think a squinting, sensitive, dweeby little guy with a crazy off-the-wall opinion is way more cool than some fucking I don't know, some aloof heckler type who never actually had an original thought in his life. And when I see people with you know, perspectives that I don't agree with necessarily, or maybe I don't know what to think about, but they're new, and I see that kind of thing, my first instinct isn't to reject that person. My first instinct is to learn more about that person, because that's interesting. You know, that's different. Even with the zooier than thou guy, like, as boring as that podcast was, the reason I checked it out is because, like, a podcast about fucking animals and why that's a good thing, that's something I've never heard before. I want to check that out. I want to see what he has to say. That's freaking wild. And it seems like nobody has that kind of curiosity, except for, you know, the few of us, the people who actually are interesting. Yeah, so that's the collection of things I've been thinking about lately. Just the moral pandering, the fake edginess, the caveats, the constant peppering of the litany of nonsense. I've just been frustrated by just the conformist culture. And it has been getting better in some ways. But you know what? It's like they're always behind the times. They're not ahead of the times. Like, these people will always, like, whenever something, it's like trendy to be okay with it, then it's fine, it's normal. But then when it's the new thing, then it's a problem. Like, these days, it's really politically correct and normalized for some reason to be a gay transvestite weirdo in a way that, like, back in the 60s it wasn't. And I'm totally for that. I like that. But then the same people who are like these days, like, so willing to accept that as normal, they don't see the irony that, like, everything that's new and different and weird and degenerate that comes their way, they still reject. You know, they don't have the self-awareness to look at the big picture and see where they fit on that timeline. But anyway, I love you like a play cousin. I'm Audi 5000. Chain chomp. Yup.
A few moments later.
And then I have a couple other things that I forgot to add into this video. One of them is this idea that we are often pressured to do this by the society around us. And so, like, for instance, Mumkey Jones used to make videos about Elliot Rodger. And those were really good videos. He did a great job on that series because he would make fun of Elliot Rodger, and he would, but he would also really try to understand him. And he would make videos where sometimes, you know, for most of the video, he wasn't really saying anything bad about Elliot Rodger. He was just describing what was happening. And the mere things he was describing were so self-explanatorily hilarious just because of how pathetic this guy comes across that you didn't need any superfluous commentary added onto it. And so he would pick the right moments to comment. And then when he didn't have to, he wouldn't. That makes perfect sense. But then he got in trouble for that, because you can't do that on YouTube, because that's not safe for YouTube. So, like, for instance, he did one video where he just read Elliot's manifesto, and he was just reporting what the guy wrote. That's all he did. He just read Elliot's manifesto, saying, like, this was published in the New York Times. I'm just going to do a reading of it for the people who are interested in this guy, interested in this content that I'm making about him, for documentary purposes. That was deemed unsafe for YouTube, and his whole channel got terminated. It was totally bogus And it was because he wasn't doing that. He wasn't doing the annoying thing where he was constantly peppering a litany of things that, oh, I don't agree with this, I don't like this guy's sick, this guy's a weirdo, this guy sucks. We don't need that, and he knew that we didn't need that, and so he respected our intelligence as people who can think for ourselves and didn't put that in, and for that he got punished. For that he got told that he couldn't have a place on this platform anymore. He couldn't speak his mind. He couldn't be creative here because he's too creative, because he has too much of a sense of restraint and poise and respecting the intelligence of the audience. They want to dumb us down. They want to spoon feed us everything and not allow us to think for ourselves. That's my first point. The other thing that I forgot to add into this video was another reason I've been thinking about this lately is because I've come across such a great example of somebody who isn't this way, who doesn't do this, who is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, where you can talk about stuff and not have to be like a normie about it. This YouTuber Scumbagovich. She does these great videos where she looks at the history of crazy, weird, perverted, bad, deviant art on the internet. Like, just the weirdest, craziest stories of these people with these bizarre fetishes, making art about their fetishes. And she tells it in this like way where she's just trying to tell you the story, and she doesn't care one way or the other whether you like this person or don't like this person or what you think about this person. She's excited about it. You could tell that the topic is interesting to her, and so she paints a picture about it. She gives you the information, and she presents it in a really narratively satisfying way with commentary where it's appropriate, but where it's not appropriate, she just doesn't feel the need to make superfluous comments. So yeah, there's a recommend. We have my sort of anti-recommendation of Turkey Tom. And then we have, if you want to see a really good example, look at Scumbagovich. She's actually a very new YouTuber. She's only been making videos this year, and yet she's already blown up, gotten like over 100,000 subscribers, which of course makes me jealous because I've been doing this for 3 years and I don't have nearly that many, but I gotta love it when someone is able to get that kind of success, making actually good videos.